to
I couldn't think of a name.
live from Florida.
Okay, someone do me a favor and exactly in 45 minutes from now, just give me a heads up. Just say,
Okay.
Such a
'cause
class.
that's when we're gonna switch to Malchut. So we're gonna do Yesod and Malchut in, okay? Okay,
Are we in Malchut already?
no, not at all. We're in Yesod.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Tiferet teaches us how to maintain our vision. And our vision, that vision is connected to our higher worlds. We live in lower worlds, we live in higher worlds, but Tiferet is the vision of our own higher worlds. Netzach and Hod then teach us how to manage our world in accordance and in harmony with the vision of Tiferet. That leads us directly into Yesod, which we are going to translate primarily as foundation, but foundation means nothing until we start understanding what foundation means. Okay, but the translation of Yesod is foundation. And foundation has primarily to do with transmission. What do I mean by transmission? Transmission of what? So on the first level, on the primary level, Yesod, the energy of the energy zone of being able to transmit translates itself primarily biologically, physically in reproduction. The most primary and ultimate form of transmitting something to something else is our ability to procreate. So, Yesod tells us that inherent in not only in the human being, but in nature itself, in every aspect of nature, there is an inherent drive to live and expand one's reach. That was Netzach, okay? And also to, while we are expanding and extending our reach, Hod taught us that we also have to, inherent within our own natures is also a desire to draw back in order to respond to others. Okay? That was Netzach and Hod. To others or to our environment. So it is a yin and a yang. It is an interplay between expansion and also drawing back, so we can leave room open for our environment and for others that are near us. All of this creates, close your eyes for a sec, creates a word that we are getting used to in the world and especially in southern Florida. All of this interaction between Tiferet, Netzach, and Hod creates what we can call an ecosystem. We are all one part of an ecosystem. And this system encourages us to inherently, whether we like it or not, to grow and to develop new forms of existence. And these new forms, some people call these new forms the evolutionary process, right? That as we grow, there are new things being created as we grow. Someone give me an example real quick. Something in nature I read that birds in some deserted island, scientists have found, have grown their beaks over a period of only a few, 2,000 or 3,000 years. They originally have a beak this long, but they have grown beaks because of their environment, because they have to, there's a lack of food and they have to go into the ground for little seeds. Their beaks have grown over a short, we're not talking about like a 1,000,000-year kind of evolution, but over a short period of time, have developed because of this inherent, as we grow, we start evolving new things that are necessary for our maintenance and for our continuance. So that happens on a human level. And what we create from Tiferet, Netzach, and Hod and into Yesod is this level of reinventing ourselves, through this we can call it a genetic or spiritual pool. We start growing and evolving and developing until we develop and morph into new realms and new aspects of the human being. So Yesod means that we create for ourselves on a very overt and sometimes subliminal level. We create for ourselves new foundations. Yesod is foundation. New foundations for the future. For the future. And therefore, Yesod represents in physicality represents the corresponds to the genitals, male and female genitals, because what better way to prepare for the future? What more primary way to prepare or to maintain, guarantee the future, other than reproduction? But that's only on the first level. That's only on a very primary level. So foundation Yesod is male and female genitals plus most importantly the womb. The womb. Yes.
So the other day I was watching television about our change in our environment and everything with global warming, and they took us to the North Pole where there's different species of penguins, and there's one species of penguins that have totally changed themselves so that they could live without so much what they had before, and they're created themselves anew.
Absolutely.
And they said if we don't do that we will fall by the wayside.
So the point of very good. The point of Yesod is whether we know it or not, whether we're aware of it or not, and most of us are really not that aware how we have changed. Our good friend is not here today, but 100 years ago, for the entire world, Dr. Sigmund Freud changed and transformed and introduced an evolving element that changed the world.
Yes.
And human beings, he's not the only one, but human beings are not the same after that. We all are not the same after that. And there are many others. However, Yesod representing the male and female genitals, this idea of transmission towards a future, hopefully a better future, but transmission of the human development towards the future embraces much more than sexuality or reproduction or regeneration or genetics. We transmit information. We embody this type of information that we got. Think of it on a very personal level. We are products of families, of lineage. Think back to your lineage. We are products of a particular society and culture, and Yesod is the place where all that is collectively experienced is merged and therefore passed on. The mystics called Yesod the divine quality of memory. We are products of our cultural, social, familial memories.
Would that also apply to like, the change that happens to you after a traumatic experience, or?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Could you repeat that the mystic said it is the collective memory?
Divine memory.
They called Yesod the divine quality of memory, We are products of that. There's no getting away from it. Did you ever? Well, we're all mature enough.
Did he say
Did you ever catch yourselves
Yes.
saying,
What Karen said.
Oh my God.
saying, I'm doing exactly what my father used to do. I'm doing exactly.
I became my mother.
I became my mother.
No, you're becoming.
I see, and like you catch yourself off guard and say, holy Toledo. I can't believe it. Believe it. Yesod teaches us this idea of what part of what we are, a good part of what we are, is coming from foundation. The foundation of my life with my parents, the foundation that transmitted its phenomenon, its value, its value system, the culture in which I live, the environment in which I live, is all adding and contributing to, consciously or unconsciously, is being transmitted to me, and in no simple way I am affected and influenced by that, and therefore I really have hardly a choice than to transmit that outward. I really have to, unless it's a burning question, okay. In some traditions, this Yesod energy is called karmic history, okay? Divine memory or karmic history of each individual. We each have a karmic history. Karmic history is the result of actions that have been performed in our lifetime and influenced by lives preceding us, and we're all products of that pool. That we don't have time now to differentiate what the Hindu and Buddhist definition of karmic history is, because it is a little different than the Jewish view of what karmic history is. We don't have time for that, but in one sentence, karmic history in Buddhist and Hindu theology is a lock-in. Is a lock-in.
What do you mean by that?
That you cannot get out of the cycle of your karmic history. Yes, it is. In Jewish theology, karmic history is extremely influential because it has to do with Yesod, and it has to do with memory, divine memory, universal memory affecting us. However, we have the great gift of getting out and totally transforming and changing our karmic history. In contradistinction to Hindu and Buddhism, that there's more of a lock. We're locked into that, and we can fool around with different actions within our karmic cycle. But the Jewish view is that we can destroy, we can annihilate a karmic history into nothingness, and to start actually all over. So all traditions, in one manner or another, speak of. I'm going to be positive. There is a negative to this too, but speak of the store or storage of merit. In other words, we firmly recognize that generations before us that have affected us as human beings in our essence, things that we have accumulated from the past, there is a certain store of merit, gleaning off of our karmic histories, that help us out to forge towards the future. All traditions have that in it. It's a gorgeous thing that what we do is individually important and vital, but what helps propel us, the power that helps us do what we do, is coming from a storage of merit, an influence, a showering of energy from the past that is now within us, that helps us to move forward in the face of obstacles. We say that like 3 times a day in every single Amidah. We have in the beginning of every Amidah, V'zocher chasdei avot. We invoke a prayer. Please God, remember divine memory. Remember the chasdei avot, the loving deeds of our ancestors. We're schlepping from the past into the present in order to go forward into the future. We are schlepping, we are drawing all of the good merit, and that is helping us. That is the act of Yesod, of transmission. The sages have a beautiful encapsulation of this idea when in the Talmud, the sages taught us that we in this present day and age, we stand on the shoulders of giants. I might not be so tall myself, but if I'm standing on the shoulder of, I might be very small myself, actually, but if I'm standing on the shoulders of giants, that makes me very tall. I'm schlepping the merit of the past into myself, and that makes I'm a midget standing on the shoulders of a giant.
That's beautiful.
I have a question.
What question?
Huh?
You asked us a couple of questions.
Yeah. Just
Exercise some.
so Yesod tells us that we are not isolated islands of only individual consciousnesses. We are not islands. We are not individuals. That is a fallacy. We are interconnected, we are intermeshed, intergenerationally, and interculturally and socially on all levels. And anyone that believes that they are an island unto themselves are just living without eyes open.
Misinformed.
Who was the epitome of Yesod in Jewish mystical envisionment, biblically? Joseph. Joseph.
Never been.
Why? Because if you know Joseph, do you know Joseph? Do you know Joseph? If you know a little bit about the biblical narrative and Joseph's history, Joseph represents Yesod because Joseph forges the most powerful link between past and future. Joseph single-handedly is responsible for preserving the lineage of his people physically and spiritually. Joseph is epitomized by Yesod because Joseph stands at the doorway between the past and the future. Just like we all do. There's a little bit of Joseph in us. We are all standing at the doorway between the past generation, the present generation, and the future generation. And Joseph is the epitome of that. Joseph is forced to leave his family. Joseph retrieves his family. Joseph nourishes his family, brings them into safe haven after a famine in Canaan, brings them to safe haven in Egypt. Joseph is the nurturer not only of his past family, but he is the physical nurturer of Egyptian civilization. He saves Egyptian civilization from 7 years of famine by storing up, right? The whole biblical narrative by storing up grain and stuff. He is the nurturer. He is the transmitter of from past into present, enabling future to blossom. Joseph is a Gaval, both on a physical and spiritual level. He maintains the tribal monotheism and also nurtures his tribe that eventually is going to be the nation of Israel. That's all Yesod. That's all nurturing. It's all reproduction. It's all it's all nurturing and transmitting to the future. Shabri?
So the thought came to me about the now. You know, if we're standing at the doorway between past and future, and you say only everything happens in the now. So how does that correlate with having to nurture things? I guess it's our responsibility to recognize what's before us in the now, right?
Yes, yes, absolutely. How in the now can I retrieve the good stuff, the merit of the past and the memory of the past into my present, so my present can be a catalyst for development into future.
So it's a responsibility.
Absolutely. We're going to talk about responsibility when we get to Malchut.
What came to my mind was Israel itself, because that's what it's doing. It redid itself, always, every day, taking the past, saving all of the foundation, and everybody's coming to see all of this.
Excellent point. You know, if you take a look at Israeli news.
Yes.
I do Israeli news at least twice a week. You know, just to know what's going on. So it's a beautiful lesson in Yesod. This week, IDF soldiers went on a training mission, around 60 of them. It was a specific training mission, and they where they were, they uncovered and therefore became responsible. They found an archaeological site at the top of some hill. They call it a mountain, but it's not a mountain. Israel doesn't have mountains. It has large hills. They found a lookout post, a foundation for a lookout post, and found artifacts underneath that lookout post that date back. Most of the stuff found in Israel dates back to approximately the 1st century CE or the 1st century BCE. Okay? So 2,000 years ago. These artifacts and this foundation that they found coins dating back to King Hezekiah, which is approximately 600 years BCE. So I'm reading that they found stuff from 600 BCE, and the next thing on the news report is that Israel developed a machine, a robotic machine, a non-invasive laser machine that goes into the brain without surgery, goes into the brain to tweak something in the brain that stops tremors. People that have tremors because of Parkinson's, they just developed this machine, a non-surgical, non-invasive machine that tweaks one little thing in the brain and the tremors stop.
Wow.
500 BCE coin, and that. Rose? So that's part of Yesod. That's part of Yesod. Gleaning from the past into the present for the future.
But it's
Yeah.
all an experience of God.
So I have a difficult
Yeah,
question.
yeah. That's assumed. Go ahead, quick.
How would you define schlepping, the transmission, through desire, through force, through will?
Very good question.
Through knowledge or compassion? A two-pointed question. How do you describe that transmission biblically, historically, and how do you compare it to now? We're now as we are the future and the present.
The transmission is made on a multiplicity of levels, and all the levels that you mentioned are all part of it. It's a multiplicity of lessons. It happens on the conscious level. It happens on the subconscious, on the unconscious level. It happens genetically. We speak without any superiority and one-upmanship. We do speak of the Jewish mind. Okay, there is that our propensity, the Jewish people's propensity, we have developed karmically, maybe even physically and genetically. There is something about I'm saying the Jewish propensity towards learning, towards studying, towards questioning, towards discovery, towards of not being satisfied. All of those energies, all of those powers accumulate over periods of years and centuries. That's what I'm talking about when I say that we have access to that merit, so to speak, on a physical and a cultural level, and also on a spiritual level. We draw from that, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
Whether we know it or not. We speak. I mean, they spoke sometimes illegitimately about a Yiddish cup.
Oh, yeah.
What does a Yiddish cup mean? It means. Okay, let me go on. No, because it's all your question and comment was right on. We all manifest Yesod energy when we live, when we transmit, when Yesod is the practice of passing along our sense of love or compassion, passing along, transmitting our joy in learning and discovery.
45-minute warning.
What?
45-minute warning.
Warning. Okay. So we all very much live in the world and in the energy zone of Yesod. There is hardly one thing we ever do without transmitting, unless you're a hermit. Don't think that when you meet someone in class or in the hall or at lunch, don't think that you are not Yesoding. Everything we do, everything we say, every facial expression has to do with I am transmitting something of self to other. Every time when we tell stories, I mean, the Jewish people are consummate storytellers, right? We are consummate, the sages were consummate storytellers. Reb Nachman, the Hasidic, the Tales of the Hasidim, 2 volumes by Martin Buber, and a million other books, right? We are storytellers. The Haggadah Shel Pesach. Haggadah means we sit around the table with food and we tell stories of the past. We dip into our genetic and spiritual pool. So stories, families, rituals that we grew up with, the schooling that we were exposed to, the disposition of our parents' personalities, our friends, our teachers, the historic events that occurred in our lifetime. These are all foundations. These are all points of transmission. And these points of transmission, they will determine the creative spark which we then will put our personal fingerprint on, as they did in the past, and as future generations will in the future with our transmission. They will receive from us whatever they receive, however they receive it, and however they mold it, and then they will put their personal fingerprint on it, and then, and on, and on, and on, and on. So we have had such a glorious heritage, the Jewish people, because we are gleaning off past generations of prophets, of great sages, of great rebbes of the spirit. And thank God we have a pool from which to glean that is very healthy and very vibrant. And that's what we do here every Wednesday. What we do here on every Wednesday, in one sense or another, is that we are being exposed to teachings and wisdoms and points of enlightenment that we have retrieved from the past, incorporating it into our present sense of self, our present consciousness, in order to share it with our friends, with the world, with if you're a community leader, with the community. I mean, that's what we do here on Wednesdays in all the classes, not only here. In all the classes, what we are doing is we are engaging in yesoding. We are engaging in the exercise of transmission. We glean from the past, we refine the past, we reframe the past, and that's our main job in life, is to take the past into the future and to re-envision it with our own fingerprint on it. Because what was true and important for our grandparents and how they took it is going to be different than how I, the grandson of them, how I am going to tweak it differently, how I'm going to refine it, how I'm going to qualify what was then, and how I am able to apply the good stuff from the past into and incorporate it into my own life, so it'll be palatable for the next generation. Joni, quickly.
Is that tshuva?
You heard me.
Or a part of it? Or
A part of it.
Part.
A part of it. Yeah. You can say that tshuva is a refining. Yeah.
45 minutes set.
Final warning.
Final warning.
Okay, so I'm gonna go over 2 more minutes. 2 more minutes. So Yesod. So do you see how Yesod foundation relates back to transmission, and that's why Yesod is associated physically with the reproductive organs, with male and female genitalia, but also the mystics added one little thing, that Yesod is also associated with the kidneys. Why? Because the kidneys are an organ that filters and refines. And that is all part of the process of transmission. When I transmit something from the past, sometimes I have to tweak it, I have to refine it, I have to filter the good stuff or the relevant stuff from the things that might not be applicable, keep the good stuff, work with that, re-envision that. So Yesod works as similar to the function of the kidneys. It is a filtering system that enables proper transmission of the wisdom, making it capable to go into the future. So last note on Yesod. So Yesod, someone mentioned it before, and Donna mentioned it last week. Yesod carries with it unbelievable opportunity of gleaning from the past, and also carries with it an unbelievable responsibility. We're responsible to pass the wisdom torch to the next generation, or to our friends that are close to us. And the mystic said that Yesod is like the belly of a woman in her last few weeks of pregnancy. Meaning, Yesod is very heavy with potential, and very difficult to carry. And even more difficult to bring into fruition, to bring into birth. So when we're aware that Yesod is the transmission of the divine, because it goes all the way back to the divine, Yesod is a transmission of the divine that actually began at Keter. It is, Yesod is absolutely, Yesod, if you can envision, Yesod is in the middle, it's not at the right or the left. So the middle means that Yesod and Tiferet. What's above Yesod? Tiferet. What's above Tiferet?
Keter.
Keter. So that is the spine. That is the spine of the Sphira energy chart.
It's interesting.
So everything in Yesod, past, present, and future, have to be aligned with what we began with at Keter.
Rabbi?
Which means when Yesod is aligned with Keter, it means that we are given the great challenge and great opportunity to find your place, your personal place in history. We are responsible, you are responsible for creating your own place in history. We are all, through Yesod, we are all links. And the question is, what kind of linkage are we going to be transmitting? Period. Malchut. Yes,
So
last
Rabbi,
word.
I'm looking at the chart and I'm seeing here Yesod and you said it was kidney, right? And when you do the.
It's the genitals and
physical-
kidney.
Physical body, according to our spine, you know, that Tiferet above it and then Keter, which sits above it. So our physical
Yeah.
spine goes down to Malchut. Where is that located?
I'm sorry, where
Where's
is,
Malchut?
we're not up to Malchut yet.
People keep asking questions and getting him off the.
I'm sorry.
No, it's okay, it's good that she's thinking along those lines, but we're not yet at Malchut.
Uh-huh.
With 30 minutes.
I'm very excited about it.
Okay. So in case anything happens in the next 29 minutes, that you're not gonna get your answer, Malchut is the feet.
Feet?
Yeah,
Oh, wow.
okay.
Oh, that's lovely.
So, Malchut. We're gonna,